This is going to be an interesting topic. I was thinking about this yesterday, and it's titled The Problem of Just Getting By. I'll give you some examples. I'll begin by saying that have I ever in my life been in that situation where I'm just getting by? I'm going to have you guess. Of course, the answer is yes, I've been there. Especially when I was in my early 20s, in my late teens. When I was young, I was getting by, and I knew shortcuts, and they would work for me. And it limited my options in the sense that because I was taking shortcuts and not being motivated completely, my motivations were elsewhere. It wasn't to succeed, it was just to get by, to go to work, pay my rent, pay my car payment, have fun on the weekends. My motivation was the weekends with my friends. And we had a blast. We had too much fun to the point where it kind of backfired and set me back for me to catch up and move forward and be a successful individual. Nowadays, I hear people say, hey, my job is Uber, or my job is delivering food. Let me begin by saying that there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. And I'll clarify, because it's honorable that you're making an honorable, earnest, or what is it, honest living. So there's no problem with that. But if your motivation is just to do that and barely get by or just get by, then that's your decision. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I've been there as well, in the sense that I was just getting by, and I didn't like it. It was frustrating. I was limited in options, and I was broke most of the time. My goal at that time was just, like I said, to pay the few bills that I had, and that's what I was doing. Then I got a family, got married, had children, and the responsibility fell on me. My mom always said, here's one of the lessons that she taught me in my life. She said, either you go to school or you go to work. You pick. And are there successful people out there who have never gone to college? The answer is yes. A lot of successful people who have never gone to school, to college, or completed a degree and are successful. So don't get my message wrong. I happen to like school. When I went to school in my 18, 19, 20, I passed a few classes and I failed some other classes, or I just stopped going, and I never withdrew. So I didn't do it right. It wasn't until years later that I went back to school and I finished what I started. And education is very important because it broadens your horizons, but it's not a guarantee that you're going to have a successful job. Are there people right now with degrees that are not using their degrees? Yes, that's an obvious answer. Hopefully you know that. And if you don't, that's okay, but now you do. So working hard has a lot of benefits. That's exactly what my mom did. Her situation was, she didn't come to America to go to school. She didn't even like school. That's exactly what she would tell me. But she loved working, and she succeeded. And as a single mom, she provided for my sister and myself, and I'm very thankful for how she blessed us, and more importantly, the lessons that she taught me. So going back to that Uber driver, or the individual that delivers food, those are people that we need out there for those services. Uber is a great service that I use occasionally when I travel. I've never used the food delivery services. That's just not my style. There's nothing wrong against that. I'd rather just step out and go, and, with the exception of maybe like pizza. Once in a while and not often, we get pizza delivered. We just go pick it up for some reason. That's just how it is. So if you're getting by, there's nothing wrong with that because you're making your goals. But if you're barely getting by, 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, is there something wrong with that? The answer is no. If that's something that you choose, there's nothing wrong with that. That's your decision, and you have the right to your decision. I'm just sharing it's not something that I would want to do, and believe me, I've been getting by when I was in my early 20s. And I finally said I'm going to have to do something different because I was embarrassed, because the responsibility primarily fell on me as the man in our family. So I made some changes, and believe me, it takes work. And sometimes I don't like the answer of no, but it's paid off. It's paid off in so many ways that we live a blissful life. And of course, half of that credit goes to my wife because she was on the journey as well. We're coming up on 24 years of marriage. And I've always said, what we've done in our lives, we've done together because of my wife and myself, because of both of us. We're blessed that way. I'm going to leave you with an observation. It can be kind of extreme, or an observation that can be kind of painful. I had a conversation with my wife a few months ago, and I said, have you noticed that most of the individuals that we see who are homeless are Americans? Meaning they were born in the U.S. We'll just leave it at that. The majority. I'm not saying out there everyone, because I haven't done a study and I'm not going to do a study, but they're Americans. Different nationalities, different backgrounds, but they are born and raised here. Growing up in Los Angeles, where it's a melting pot of individuals who come from different countries, I think they have that mentality of, we're going to America to hustle and to work and earn a living, and sometimes send money back home to wherever they came from, to their family members. It's an observation. I'm not passing judgment. Unfortunately, homeless is a world that I'm not familiar, somebody being homeless. But my observation is maybe it's a mental thing that they're going through, or a drug thing that they're going through, or an addiction to alcohol, challenges, because challenges are part of life. And yes, I've been to other countries where you see the people from those countries out on the street as well. So I'm not saying it's just Americans that are homeless, but there are people in other countries who are homeless, because I've been to Italy, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Central America, and you see homeless people. It's a challenge. It's an unfortunate challenge that I wish upon no one. Going back to the topic of this video, the problem of just getting by. If you're in that situation, the good news is if you do things different, you can succeed. You don't need a college degree. If you have one, great, but you don't need one. And I speak from experience where I was in challenging situations because of my choices. And I made some changes. And the fruits of the work that went into that are beneficial in so many ways that I love, which is why I'm making this difficult topic, is to plant that seed or water the seed if you're thinking about that. Take care.